Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Hi English Channel. I'm Emily, and I'm so happy you're here today.
And I'm Paul. It's great to have you with us again for another fun and helpful episode to make your English more natural and confident.
That's right, Paul. Before we start, we'd like to ask you a small favor. If you enjoy learning with us, please subscribe to Hi English Channel, share this episode with your friends, and give it a like. Your support really helps us keep creating lessons that inspire you.
Absolutely. Every comment, every like, every share, it all means a lot. So, Emily, tell me, how was your weekend?
Oh, my weekend was lovely, thank you. It had the perfect mix of rest and family time. You know those weekends where everything just feels right?
I do. For me, it was busy, but in a good way. Weekends are like a short pause button in life, aren't they? A time to recharge and reconnect.
Exactly. And that's why today's topic is so special. We're going to talk about your weekend, how to describe it, how to ask about others, and how to make those simple conversations sound natural in English.
It's something we all do. At work, school, or even when chatting with a new friend, people love asking, "So, how was your weekend?" And if you can answer confidently, you sound fluent and friendly right away.
Perfectly said, Paul. So let's start with Saturday. What did you do on Saturday?
Saturday was fun. In the afternoon, I met a few friends and tried out that new cafe downtown, the one with the cool wooden interior and the smell of fresh pastries.
Oh, I know the one you mean. The one that's always busy on weekends. How was it?
It was great. We sat there for hours, just talking and catching up. We laughed about old memories, shared some new stories, and even planned a small trip for next month. It reminded me that friendship is one of the best ways to relax.
That sounds wonderful. Spending time with friends is such an important part of a happy weekend. It doesn't matter whether you go to a cafe, watch a movie, or just walk together. It's all about connection.
Exactly. Life gets busy, but moments like these bring balance. What about you, Emily? How was your Saturday?
Mine was a little different. I had a lovely family lunch. My parents came over and we cooked a big lasagna, one of our favorites. The kitchen was filled with laughter, the smell of tomato sauce, and the sound of kids playing in the garden.
That's such a warm image. Family lunches have their own magic. It's not just about food. It's about sharing stories and love.
Absolutely. After lunch, we just relaxed. My mom brought her famous chocolate cake, and we all ended up sitting around the table longer than planned, talking about old times.
That's what weekends are for. Those small, quiet moments that refill your heart.
Yes. And in the evening, I spent time with my kids. We made popcorn, watched a movie, and just cuddled on the sofa. Sometimes peace at home feels better than any party.
That's so true, Emily. Some people think weekends must be full of big plans, but often the simple things, a movie night, a walk, a shared meal, stay in your heart longer.
Speaking of parties, did you do anything special later that night, Paul?
Actually, yes. I went to a friend's birthday party. Mark just turned 30. It was full of music, laughter, and way too much food. Everyone was dancing, even me, and trust me, I'm not a great dancer.
Oh, I would have loved to see that, but it sounds fun. Birthday parties are such a joyful way to end the day.
They are. You meet new people, share stories, and celebrate together. It's like a reminder that life is meant to be enjoyed.
Beautifully said. And that brings us to Sunday, the slow, peaceful half of the weekend.
Yes, my Sunday was all about calm. I spent the morning cleaning the house a bit, laundry, dishes, all those little tasks we try to ignore all week. Not fun, but satisfying once done.
Oh yes, the famous weekend chores. They're not fun, but finishing them makes you feel like a hero.
Exactly. And after that, I spent the afternoon reading in my backyard. The weather was perfect, warm sunlight, a light breeze, just me, my book, and the sound of birds.
That sounds so peaceful. For me, Sunday started with church. It's something I never miss. It helps me slow down, thank God, and start a new week with gratitude.
That's wonderful. Attending church or any place of reflection can bring calm and purpose. It's like pressing the reset button for your soul.
Exactly. After church, I took my kids to the park. They rode their bikes, and I just sat on a bench watching them laugh. The sun was warm, and the world felt peaceful for a moment.
That's such a beautiful picture. And that's what this episode is really about, finding ways to talk about these small but meaningful moments in English.
Yes, because when someone asks, "How was your weekend?" they're not asking for a list. They're asking about your life, your experiences, your emotions.
So let's help our listeners with that. Here are some great phrases you can use. First, how was your weekend? Simple, friendly, and perfect for starting a conversation.
Right. You can also ask, "What did you do this weekend?" Or, "Did you do anything fun?" All very natural and common.
And when answering, keep it simple. You can say, my weekend was relaxing, it was busy, or it was great. Then add some details. I went to the park, I had lunch with my family, I watched a movie.
Yes, and remember, use the past tense. For example, I went, not I go. I had, not I have. It's a small detail, but it makes a big difference.
Exactly. Let's do a little role play, shall we? I'll ask you and you answer naturally. Ready?
Ready.
How was your weekend, Emily?
It was wonderful, thank you. On Saturday, I had a lovely family lunch with my parents, and in the evening, I watched a movie with my kids.
That sounds like a perfect Saturday. What about Sunday? Did you do anything special?
Yes, on Sunday morning, I went to church, and later, I took my kids to the park because the weather was beautiful.
Perfect. You used had, watched, went, and took all in the past tense. For our listeners, this is a great way to practice. Think about your weekend and describe it step by step, just like this.
And don't be afraid to add feelings. Instead of just saying, "I ate lunch," you can say, "I had a delicious lunch with my family." The extra words make your English sound alive and more natural.
Exactly. It's like painting a picture with words. And the more details you add, the more confident and fluent you'll sound.
So, what about other weekend activities? Many people go shopping, right?
Yes, shopping is such a common weekend activity, whether for groceries, clothes, or just window shopping to relax.
Or gardening. Spending time outdoors with plants is peaceful and healthy.
True. And for sports lovers, weekends mean soccer games, basketball matches, or even watching your favorite team on TV.
Exactly. And for some, it's about self-care, going to the gym, doing yoga, or simply taking a long walk to clear the mind.
It doesn't matter what you do. What matters is how you talk about it in English. Use verbs like went, played, watched, visited, spent, and relaxed. They're your key weekend words.
That's a great tip, Paul. And now let's give our listeners a few more practical ideas they can use to describe their weekends clearly and confidently.
All right, let's continue. When you talk about your weekend, try to organize your ideas in order. You can say, on Saturday morning, I went shopping. In the afternoon, I met my friends. In the evening, I relaxed at home.
Yes, and it also helps your listener follow along easily. Think of it as telling a mini story, your weekend story. Every sentence can be a simple piece of that story with time expressions, like in the morning, after lunch, or before dinner.
That's a good point. And if you want to sound even more fluent, add a few connecting words. Words like then, after that, or later make your sentences flow better. For example, I had lunch with my family and then we went for a walk.
Exactly. And don't forget to include emotions. You can say, "It was relaxing," "It was exciting," "It was busy," or "It was tiring." This adds color to your words and helps people feel what you felt.
Let's make it more fun. Emily, if someone says, "I did nothing this weekend," how can they make that sound more interesting in English?
That's a great question. You can say, "I had a quiet weekend at home. I stayed in, read a book, and just rested." That sounds much warmer and more natural than simply saying nothing.
Perfect example. Even calm weekends have a story. Maybe you rested, cleaned your house, or spent time reflecting. There's always something to share.
Exactly. Talking about weekends isn't about big events. It's about small moments. Even if you just cooked, watched a show, or went for a short walk, that's enough to build a great conversation.
So true. And this is powerful because it helps you connect with people emotionally. When you talk about your real weekend, it shows who you are.
Yes, and it's also one of the easiest ways to practice past tense verbs in English.
Because you talk about things that already happened. For example, I watched, I went, I called, I cooked.
Exactly. The more you use them, the more natural they become. Think of it as exercise for your speaking muscles.
I love that comparison. And for our listeners, here's a simple challenge. After this episode, take 5 minutes and write 3 sentences about your weekend in English. Use past tense, time expressions, and feelings.
Yes, you could write something like, on Saturday, I went shopping with my sister. We found a nice cafe and had lunch there. It was relaxing.
Just 3 sentences can help you build a strong habit.
And if you want to take it a step further, read your sentences out loud. That way, you practice both writing and speaking.
That's a great learning technique. It helps you remember new words and improves pronunciation.
Paul, have you ever noticed how weekends can say so much about a person's life?
Yes, that's so true. Someone who spends weekends hiking might love adventure. Someone who enjoys quiet mornings might value peace. Talking about weekends is really talking about personality.
Exactly. That's why it's such a powerful topic for conversation. It opens the door to understanding each other better.
Let's think of a real-life example. You meet a colleague on Monday, and they ask, "How was your weekend?" If you just say, "Good," the conversation ends there. But if you add a little detail like, "Good, I visited my grandparents," suddenly you have a story.
Yes, and then your colleague might say, "Oh, that's nice. Where do they live?" See how easily a natural conversation begins?
Exactly. The goal isn't perfect grammar. It's connection. When you speak with emotion and confidence, people listen.
That's such a good reminder for English learners. Don't aim for perfection. Aim for progress and authenticity.
And remember, even small improvements matter. Each time you talk about your weekend, try using one new word or phrase. It's like planting a small seed in your English garden. It grows every time you practice.
That's beautiful, Paul. Speaking of growing, let's share a few more weekend ideas our listeners can talk about.
Sure. How about traveling? Some people take short trips on weekends, visiting another city or just exploring somewhere nearby.
Yes, even a small trip can be exciting. You can say, I went on a short trip, or I visited a new place.
Another idea, trying something new. Maybe you cooked a new recipe, joined a class, or started a new hobby. These are great topics to talk about.
Or spending time with loved ones, parents, children, or even pets. You can say, I walked my dog, or I played with my kids. Simple, but personal.
Exactly. And for those who prefer staying home, watching a good movie, cleaning the house, or simply sleeping in late, all of that counts too.
The truth is, every weekend tells a story. It doesn't have to be grand, it just has to be real.
That's what makes conversations interesting. And when you share these stories in English, you're not just practicing a language, you're sharing a piece of your life.
So, listeners, ask yourself, what story did your weekend tell? Did you rest, explore, connect, or create something new?
That's such a powerful question, Emily. It's not only about improving English, it's about reflecting on how we spend our time.
Exactly. Every Sunday night before bed, I like to think back and ask, what made me smile this weekend? It helps me start Monday with gratitude.
That's beautiful. And gratitude is a great mindset for learning, too. When you appreciate small things, you enjoy the process more.
So true, and that's what learning English should feel like. Not pressure, but progress. Every small step counts.
So, Emily, what are your plans for next weekend?
I'm planning to take my kids to a local food festival. It'll be fun. Music, colors, new dishes to try. And maybe on Sunday, just a quiet day at home with some books.
That sounds perfect. For me, I'm hoping to visit a museum I've never been to and maybe try a new recipe for dinner.
Nice. That's another great topic. Future plans. You can use I'm going to or I'm planning to when talking about what you'll do next weekend.
Yes, like I'm going to meet my friends or I'm planning to clean the house. It's simple but useful.
Exactly. You can even ask others, what are your plans for the weekend? It's friendly and shows interest.
And that question can start amazing conversations. You might discover shared interests or new things to try.
All right, everyone, before we end, let's quickly review today's key ideas. When you talk about your weekend, use the past tense, add details and feelings, use time expressions to organize your story, and most importantly, enjoy the conversation.
That's right. Communication is about connection, not perfection. And the more you practice, the easier it becomes.
So here's your challenge. Tell someone about your last weekend in English, or write it in the comments below this video. We'd love to read what you did.
Yes, maybe you watched a movie, cooked something new, or met a friend. Whatever it is, share it with us. We love hearing your stories.
Thank you so much for spending time with us today on High English Channel. Remember, learning happens every time you speak.
We appreciate your time, your effort, and your heart. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this episode with someone who's learning English too.
And one last question for you before we go. How was your weekend? Tell us in the comments. Let's start a beautiful conversation there.
Yes, we'll read every one of them. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Until then, take care, stay inspired, and keep practicing your English every day.
Bye, everyone.
Bye!